Let me start with you, Robert. Is this exaggeration? Do you feel that Trump's ramping it up? Do you feel that we shouldn't have even introduced it that way? Or do you feel that there is a genuine possibility of such a thing, heaven forfend?
It is exaggeration, and you should have introduced it that way. And there's a grain of truth to it. Now, calm down, dears. I'm not saying we're on the brink of World War III.
No.
But what we're looking into is a clockwork of conflict and discord, which is very complex. There are too many moving parts at times to get to grips with. And there is danger, as I've been discussing on your show, Vanessa,
yes,
that of things proliferating, particularly in the area we're going to look at now, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Eastern Mediterranean. We've talked about the other stuff, and indeed Ukraine. It's very interesting, Trump talking about, I will get to grips with Ukraine. Sad to say, from NATO's latest assessment, he may be too late.
But would he have had the potential had he been in power earlier? What could he have brought to the altercation, the fracas, whatever it is, that other people could not?
Well, it's very interesting hearing retired General Jack Keane, who's part of the Institute of War Studies, which has been doing excellent work on Ukraine, saying it's just really by the upfrontedness of Trump, actually it does get you somewhere, which is not to say, and Keane also proposed this, that Biden has been lazy about this. He's got a very interesting, very thoughtful team, but it's getting hold of jelly babies at times, getting Netanyahu into a position. It isn't just Netanyahu. The problem of the fact that there's no real negotiation on Ukraine. And above all, here we are. How can you get to grips with Iran? By the way, Iran, about the attack on Tower 22 and the 3 soldiers killed and 34 injured. Absolutely typical weasel words.
What, to say it was nothing to do with us?
Of course, it was everything to do with that, but they can't say, tell us where we pressed the button. Oh, no, they will have done scenarios, they will have done it with their proxies, they will have done it with the Shia militias, the umbrella, which is where I think, in that command, I think is where America's going to strike.
Let me bring
now. Sorry,
Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Crawford into this. I mean, I'm sure you will agree with Robert here that this is infinitely complicated, isn't it? And the numbers of different parties involved, the complexity, the possibility for any catalyst to ignite anything at any point, plus this potential for saying, we don't know anything about it, it's not us, because of this proxy warfare. What do you see when you look into the abyss?
Indeed. Well, I think Robert's absolutely spot on with his analysis that he's just given. We do have to remember that Donald Trump is all bluster and wind, but he's campaigning. And what he's telling people, he's telling them what he thinks and knows they want to hear. And he'll continue with this until the presidential elections. As for the complexity of the way things are going in the Middle East, I think Robert's absolutely correct. What I would say is that the Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas, Islamic resistance in Iraq are all actually more the symptoms of the disease, and Iran is the cause. And at the moment, we're putting sticking plasters on the symptoms, but at some point, we're going to have to operate on the cause. And I can only hope that that will be sorted by diplomatic means rather than by military action, because I think the last thing the world wants at the moment with the ongoing conflagration in Ukraine is another war of that nature in the Middle East.
But Stuart, what kind of nature would the diplomacy have to be, and what would the aim be? What would they be diplomatically attempting to achieve?
Well, I mean, I think really what they've been diplomatically trying to achieve for many, many years now is to bring the administration and government in Tehran to heel in terms of not upsetting the apple cart in the wider Middle East. I mean, the ultimate goal of all of this, of course, is to prevent Iran getting the nuclear weapons. And that has been successful so far through a combination of diplomacy, sanctions, internet delivered viruses, and of course, the occasional bombing raid from the Israelis, and also targeted assassinations. So Iran has been kept, if you like, in the kennel so far, but it has operated via its proxies, as Robert has been saying.
So the tinderbox, which I think it's fair to call it, isn't it?
Absolutely.
You don't know exactly which bit might go up in flames at any moment. You don't know who's going to attack whom and who's going to admit it was because of them, and also what the net effect will be. So the precarious nature of it all is such that when you look into the kind of potential vista, what do you see could happen? Talk us through what might happen, I suppose, from the perspective of what you think is most likely to happen.
Well, I don't want it to sound like the Book of Revelation.
No, I know.
And the seven and the horsemen of the apocalypse,
Or the male
and opening the seventh,
No,
opening the seventh seal. But I know that NATO is very worried about a collapse in Ukraine, and Russia taking completely the wrong message from that. Where I think Stuart Crawford and I are absolutely on the same page is what is so worrying about Russia and Iran is that they're out to break, not only to break with, but break the rules-based system that was laid down since 1945. This is where it's different from the Cold War. From the Cold War, they wanted actually, in the end, accommodation. The Soviet Union wanted to be allowed to go on living, being the Soviet Union, with its gospel of rather bastardized Marxist-Leninism, according to Stalin, and dominating Eastern Europe. And you can get on and run your own thing. And there were all kinds of accommodations. And that got slightly better, particularly as Gorbachev brought it to an end. That is not so now. They say, we do not buy it. We want to wreck it. We don't believe it. We want America to get out. This is as far as Russia is concerned. You can see it going on in the Middle East with Iran. And we want Europe diminished, which is a crazy point of view. And I'm afraid, sorry, it is cowboys and Indians. They're on a sort of redskin in old-fashioned Western cartoon performance. Sorry to use that term, but I mean it iconographically in the terms that it was used. We're on a warpath. And it's only by promoting war that these two regimes in Moscow and Tehran keep going, because particularly in Tehran, they're in trouble. It's an aging government, less and less support. They're having to kick out more dissidents or non-purists within their own ranks. They become dangerous when they're doing that. And that's why they're exporting disruption, adventure, and violence. And Russia is probably going to do the same. And I do think, I don't know whether Stuart would agree with me there, I do think we have to look at them both together.